if the CEO or whoever is going to do the commercial, if they bring something of value to it. Now, I know there have been plenty of times that, well, let so-and-so record his commercial. He's got an ego and he'll love to hear his lousy voice on air, and he'll buy then. Well, there we go, putting the money before the client. If you take care of your client, you take care of your listeners, and if you take care of your employees, guess what? The money will fall into place.
Hi, I'm Rich Robertson with Business Battles Force Multiplier. This show is about business perseverance and success. One of the challenges I've always had over the years is how to advertise, how to market. And I've been fortunate because I had a good friend that's in the industry. And for over 25 years, he's been guiding me. That friend is Warren Orey. He is with us now, Director of Sales of Glades Media Radio Group. Warren, how you doing, partner?
I'm doing great, Rich. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, absolutely. You're the first person I thought of. If I wanted to be picked on, harassed, Warren would do it.
Yeah, no problem.
But I do appreciate our friendship, and I really appreciated your guidance over the years. You have given me some of the best advice, even though I haven't followed all of it, and you're gonna get your shot at that in a minute here. But you really have helped my business get basically my name out there. Name recognition it's been a key, and you taught me that from day one. And so before we get into that subject, I want to ask you: Are there any, since this is about sales, are there any good sales techniques that you can share with the viewers?
Well, the first thing as far as when you're in sales, you have to tell the truth. You can't bamboozle people. You can't tell them one thing and do another. So you have to be upfront and honest from the get-go. So that is first and foremost, I think, what is the most important. I've often told people, why radio, why media, why any of that? I said, because I believe in it. I mean, I couldn't sell anything I didn't believe in. And my approach has always been throughout the years to give a client or a prospect enough information so they can make an informed and intelligent decision on where they invest their marketing dollars. And that's a big thing. It has to be deemed as an investment because you're looking to get a return on it. And when you do so, and, there are times that it works better than others. It depends on how you hit it, where the cycle is in your industry or just in the economy, period. But doing the consultative sales approach and making sure that while you're dealing with a prospect or while a salesperson is trying to sell you, Rich, if they're showing that they take a sincere interest in your business and in your industry, they ask intelligent questions, although they're not going to be highly technical and deep into whether we're talking about stock trading or IT networking or anything like that. I mean, you have to do your homework, and that's what I preach to all the people that I've ever tutored throughout the years. And that's the way I learned: do your homework, and you have to sound intelligent.
And that's one thing I always appreciate about you, because I hate leading questions. When a salesperson starts giving me that, wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't this benefit you? Isn't it time for you to invest? Oh, I just hate those.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to just walk out right there and then. From day one, you've never done that to me. I mean, you've always been upfront and honest. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that's what I have my sales staff down here doing. I'm in West Palm Beach. I have 7 radio stations with Glades Media Group. I hit every market. I have stations in Naples, Fort Pierce, West Palm Beach, Key West. If you give your client the information and an opportunity to say yes because you did your homework and you presented something that made logical sense, it's going to be a win-win for everybody involved. So that's I practice what I preach, and it's a continually educating. You can't stop learning. In fact, I don't know if you noticed it on the bottom of my email. I have a quote from Henry Ford. It says, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, it doesn't matter whether you're 20 or 80. If you stop learning, you're dying, or something along those lines. And, I tell everybody that works for me, I says, look, if you don't want to get better every day when you get out of bed, stay in bed.
So, and you brought up investment. What type of advertising would you credit as the best return on investment?
Well, it all depends. All advertising is good. I happen to be, particularly fond of radio because that's where I've made my living the last 27 years. And every form of advertising has its advantage and its disadvantages. Something that I frequently mention is about outdoor billboards. Billboards can give directions better than anything else, unless you have Google in your phone, in your car. But you're driving down 95 and you see a big billboard from McDonald's next exit. We love buses. Great investment because that's what billboard does. It gives directions. But to see some of the clients that down here in Southern Florida, there's, you could swing a dead cat over your head and hit 115 lawyers. They're all over the place. And they are big on billboards. But, billboard is so expensive to build branding and frequency. It's horrific. So the advantage to television is you have that sight and sound visual combined. So you've got the audio, the video, the visual, and that helps to reinforce whatever it is that the product or service that you're selling. But the problem with television is to buy network television, it's extremely expensive. Even if you just buy a region, it's still expensive. It doesn't exist anymore, but WHAG here in Hagerstown, they used to get almost $400 for a 30-second spot during the evening news. Now, that's ridiculous. But they got it, and people would buy it. And that's just a little unrated market for Nielsen. I don't think Nielsen rates the television, but they're now part of DC 50. So WHAG TV no longer exists. But, to do a schedule on radio for the same type of primetime inventory, you'd be looking, depending on what station, in what market. I can tell you, in the Frederick Hagerstown market, where you and I lived for so many years, and you still do, a 60-second commercial on any of the stations there could run you anywhere from $40 to $100, depending on where, when, why, and how much you buy. So, there's radio advertising is not rocket science, but you got to give enough thought to it. And once you do that, you can figure out the best way to go ahead and do it.
Okay, that's right. And that's going to be my next question. A lot of small businesses, would need sales. So they try to start thinking about, okay, how am I going to advertise? And, and they hear spots running and that sound really appealing. And so when they look into radio as advertisement to increase sales, is that a mistake? Aren't you really brand building with radio versus trying to sell a product?
No. And again, well, for companies such as the computer company you have, you're brand building because you're not looking to drive traffic to your store this weekend because you got a truckload of laptops you have to get rid of. So, no, radio will build the brand there too, but radio will also drive weekend sales traffic. I remember many, many years ago, there was a car dealership up there, and I walked into the dealership, and the sales manager had the newspaper on his desk, and he had a full-page ad in the newspaper. And I said to him, Tom, what's wrong? He says, what do you mean? I said, you have a problem. What is it? How do you know I have a problem? Well, I know you don't run full-page ads, so you must have a problem. He says, I got too many trucks.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And this was August, the last weekend in August. So I think it was coming up on Labor Day. So, and this was like on Tuesday leading up. And I told him, I says, I will be back here tomorrow morning with an idea and a program that you're going to buy, and it's going to be $4,000. Yeah. It's okay. So I immediately had an idea. Saturday was September 1st. So I created a high energy, high impact, blow them out sales commercial that said something to the effect, by executive order of blah, 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 board of directors, this Saturday is not September 1st, it's August 32nd, thereby extending month-end savings to you. And he bought it. And he spent $1,000 a day, 4 days in a row. He would never admit how well it worked. I had to find out from one of his salespeople. He says, Warren, we sold 29 trucks last weekend. So, yeah, I mean, it does work. So to schedule a business such as yours, we're going to schedule it completely different than we would a car dealer or a furniture store. You're going to be more of a branding thing because we're not trying to drive weekend sales. In fact, we might even save you some money by putting you in the early week. Because again, you're not driving anybody to your place of business for the weekend to buy something. So we could run you, your type of a service industry, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and let the big box stores, the car dealers, and the furniture stores fight for the inventory on the weekends.
Yeah, because when I first started, I wanted to be the expert of the industry. That was my message. So that's why I always had to, computer enhancements or the CES tech tips.
Right.
They worked really well for many years. And the one thing you taught me was you don't have to blow a lot of money up front. You just got to be consistent.
Correct.
And you got to stay with it. And so that's what I did. And so I ran it for about 4 or 5 years. And Warren, I am telling you, 2-3 years later, after I stopped running the ads, people were coming in and telling me they're hearing my ads all the time.
Happens all the time.
It's unbelievable how powerful it was. Mm-hmm. And so every time I want to get a different message out in the community, I just started running another ad.
Right.
And I succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take long for me to become the number one IT company in my little area in Frederick.
Yeah.
And my dad begged me not to start my business because there's too much competition. I'm serious. I had 12 competitors when I started. We had what we had back then, 150,000 or 175,000 population.
Yeah, about that.
It's now about 400 or 500.
Yeah.
And I outlasted all my competitors. I'm the oldest computer company in Frederick. Mm-hmm. And I contribute a lot of it to, well, number one, God. Mm-hmm. But the type of advertising I did to give me that launch. But again, it wasn't quick money. No. It didn't come in right away. It took a long, long time. And so on that subject, how much should a company, what percentage should they spend of their revenues in marketing and advertising?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me first say you have to spend what you're comfortable with. Because I tell clients, I've always told them this. I said, look, I want you to be happy and comfortable when you sit down at the end of the month to write the check for the bill. I don't want you cussing me out as you're signing it, saying this guy sold me a bill of goods. No, that's not what we're looking to do here. Unfortunately, there are a lot of media companies that's how they operate. And it's not just radio. There's television, there's cable, some of that local direct type stuff that I've heard about that is around Frederick, and it's around a lot of other areas. So that would be my first recommendation to somebody. And honestly, I have always, and I trade my salespeople, if they don't have enough money to move the needle, don't take it at all. And I've turned away business because, well, you're expecting a Brinks truck to pull up in front with a wheelbarrow full of money for you in a week's time, and that's not going to happen. So the biggest thing we have to do is manage clients' expectations because everybody's excited, especially when we come to your place of business with a spec commercial that we've already produced, and we say, this is how you're going to sound on my radio station, and we hit play. You get excited. So getting back to your question, Rich, anywhere from 3 to 5% of your total gross revenue, depending on the size of business, what market you're in, how much revenue you actually do generate. And that can go up to as high as 5 to 8%. I've always gone with that 3 to 4% range because most people that are in business, that own their own business, they're already going to have that number that somebody threw at them. And, if you give them the same number to confirm it, then you're helping to reestablish or reaffirm, exactly their comfort level. So that's what I would that's how I respond to that question.
All right, let's pick on Rich time. You used to get so you never got mad at me, but I could tell you were not happy with me.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, you would give me advice on what kind of ads run, how to do things, and my hard headedness and being stubborn, and I was focused on what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't listening. Okay, so why don't you share with everybody the mistakes I made when I first started out advertising?
You always wanted to be too overly technical in your commercials. You have to remember, and this is for anybody in any business, nobody cares about the 4 C's of a diamond, for an example. The 4 C's of a diamond are color, cut, clarity, and carat weight. You don't want to sell that. What you want to sell is the look on her face when she opens that box. That's what you sell, okay? You don't sell the steak, you sell the sizzle. So, and people are motivated when your message tells them, hey, look, if you give me a call, I could very easily improve the quality of your life. And it could be as simple as, eliminating a small problem. Like I got a crack in my windshield. Well, hey, look, it just so happens that, Rich's Auto Glass just ran an ad. Hey, call me up right now. I can be there in 20 minutes and give you a new windshield. So it's all about timing. It's all about opportunity, and keeping it simple. Now, this is something that I've got everybody down here, including Brian, who just left. I said, KISS, baby. Keep it simple, stupid. And that's something that I think a lot of people out today, and probably younger, maybe a little wiser than me, I don't know, but everybody tries to reinvent what's already been invented. I constantly get fed with ads on social media about sales and all that. Do I know everything about sales? No. But I got news for you. Virtually everything you're going to try to tell me is something that Zig Ziglar said 30 years ago, or somebody at another training seminar said, or I just completed a training class for 7 of my salespeople with P1 Learning. I can highly recommend them, p1learning.com. And they do marketing sales and teach you how to sell marketing and teach you how to, overcome objections. And actually it just helps you to learn how to give better advice to a prospect. So I hope I didn't get too far off of base there.
No. On that same note, that was my next question is, what kind of mistakes have you seen the other CEOs make?
Basically the same thing that you did. They know better. Okay. When they don't. I mean, and I've even told clients this. I didn't tell you this back in the day because, I was still kind of new in the business, but I've told clients now, I said, look, I don't tell you how to fix computers or run a network. Don't tell me how to market. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been pretty successful at it. So you're going to have to trust me and I'm going to have to trust you. And trust is earned. It has to be built. And I don't expect anybody to trust me right off the bat, especially when I don't have any hair up here. In fact, you and I have opposite haircuts. All your hair's up here and mine's on the side and you're vice versa. So, it's let the people that know what they're doing do what they do.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. I have a problem. I don't know how to get the word out to my potential customers, clients, that I can come in and replace their entire IT staff for 1/3 of the costs that they're paying for their staff. And we don't have sick days, you have to pay holidays and Christmas bonus, none of that stuff. And you have a wider range of expertise than you have 1 or 2 guys on a staff. Now, I'm coming to you I want a radio ad. How do I get that out? How would you format something like that?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do, and I've already started doing it, I started to conjure up a commercial in my head. So the first thing I would do, and again, this is right off the top, I would take the financial benefit route and say, depending on how many people, the jobs that can be moved over to the automated technology, and calculate an ROI in the commercial spot. So, for example, a lot of people in business, they just look at the salary. Okay. They don't look at the workers' comp percentage they have to pay in taxes. They don't look at the FICA taxes. They don't look at the matching taxes. They don't look at any other kind of employee benefits that they have to pay right off the top. So, here's another way to put it too, Rich. I've used this. I say, what are your opportunity costs? What are opportunity costs? Well, if I'm talking to somebody about a recruitment campaign and they need to hire truck drivers to deliver their bread or soda or whatever, your opportunity cost is how much money are those trucks costing you sitting idle without a driver? Well, you could take the same approach with that. What are your opportunity costs that you could be, or your opportunity savings, better yet? If we sat down and did a cost benefit analysis, call me. And I would do that on radio because, again, I'm partial to radio because it's been very good to me. But radio is a frequency medium where you can afford to buy enough frequency and have it hit a specific demographic to whatever radio station you happen to be on. If you're on a country station, a rock station, a news format station, it doesn't matter. There's going to be somebody there that's going to need and want what you have. So you have to give them a reason to pick up the phone, or you have to give them a reason to go to your website. You just can't say, hey. So.
And on that note, is it better? Like I always personalize mine with the tech tips. And then, I had you do the closing and opening and stuff like that. And I probably shouldn't have over the years. But is it better for a CEO or a business owner to personalize and do their own commercial, or hire a professional come and do the voiceover?
Well, if he doesn't sound like a stuffed shirt, sure, let the boss do it. And that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of commercials. I'll even name it. There's a car dealership down here. And it comes on and says, "Come join the family." I said, "Well, you know what? I don't want to join your family. I want to buy a car." Okay. So, and we all know how people treat their family in some cases. All right. I don't want to come to your place of business and to be treated like, the uncle or the nephew that you don't like. I want to be treated like a valued customer. I don't want to be treated like family. So, but if the CEO or whoever is going to do the commercial, if they bring something of value to it. Now, I know there have been plenty of times that, let so-and-so record his commercial. He's got an ego and he'll love to hear his lousy voice on air, and he'll buy then. Well, there we go, putting the money before the client. If you take care of your client, you take care of your listeners, and if you take care of your employees, guess what? The money will fall into place.
Okay, so I decided I'm going to advertise on WRK. How should I request for my spots to be ran, and what's the best value for the dollar?
Well, the more frequency, the better. Okay, I would also not cherry pick. Now, a lot of people, I want morning drive only. Well, why you want to ignore the rest? Well, that's where you have the most listeners. Well, not necessarily. There's plenty of listeners, and most radio stations will price their their airtime according to listeners and demand. Demand's got a big thing to do with it too. So yeah, everybody wants morning drive. So if you want to what I call cherry pick and go into nothing but morning drive, I'm going to charge you more. And then you're going to say, why are you charging me more? It says, because you're cherry picking. So, for a business such as yours, Rich, I would probably run a very vertical schedule, like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe a Saturday or maybe a Sunday, and get that frequency up, and see how that works out. Or you could do something a little different. You could run, I don't like to, let me back up. A lot of people make the spray and pray method. They'll throw 15 spots. And I already referenced one of my best lines about the Brinks truck pulling up, or the Wells Fargo truck pulling up with a wheelbarrow full of cash. It doesn't happen that way. So, you have to be, think about where you want to be and where you can afford to get the most frequency for your dollars. Now, there's an old story that goes back. There's a gentleman by the name of, he's still in business. He is a very arrogant, and justifiably so, because it's not bragging, and if you can pull it off, and he has done it very successfully. He will take on a client and he will run everything in radio. That's all he does. And many years ago, he got his start in the business, and his first client was in Chicago, and couldn't afford to buy a lot of radio. And he was spraying and praying. He was buying a little here, a little there. And, the whole thought process is do not sacrifice frequency for reach. So if you can't reach the audience with enough frequency, then go to a smaller audience. And by doing that, instead of running, Monday through Friday, 10A to 3P, well, why don't you run Monday through Friday, 8P to midnight, and then just pound it. Well, that's what, and he wound up with his jewelry store. I think by the time he passed away, I think he might have had 4 or 5 jewelry stores. And he was a big player, because it's frequency. And I don't care what form of advertising you do, frequency is king. Frequency will make the needle move. And if you don't have enough budget to reach the large audience with enough frequency, reach a smaller audience that you can afford to buy enough frequency for.
So one of the best spots you ever put me in, I think.
Was it Orioles baseball?
I was going to ask about that. What about sponsorships?
The nice thing about a sports sponsorship, especially baseball, it's 162 games. Those normally you can get in affordably. You're going to have in-game spots. You're going to have out-of-game spots. You're going to have promotional announcements, opening billboards, closing billboards, a lot of name recognition. And it's, I like to use the reference, it's the Ron Popeil method of advertising. You set it and forget it. So I think anytime that you lock into a long-term commitment and try not to worry about it. I know you're going to shake every month when the bill comes, but if you stick to it, you will be successful.
And another spot you put me in that I really like, and that was recently, was the weather spot.
Oh, doing the weather sponsorship? Yeah. There is a rule of thought, or a school of thought, I should say, that why should we do traffic reports or weather reports when people can pull it up here? Well, you want to know what?
They're driving.
They're driving, number one. Number two, they're getting dressed. I don't get dressed with my phone in my hand. I don't know about anybody else. I'll have the radio on. So I can get my traffic and weather together right there.
That's the first thing I do when I get in the car is I hit that station, gives me that weather and traffic for my commute. Mm-hmm. First thing I do.
Yep. Yeah, you want to know what's in front of you.
So you got me in that spot, and my competitor, who's also on that show, or on that station, excuse me, and I think you know who it is. And
yes.
So they started switching to trying to protect about ransomware. Okay.
Yes.
So because of your spot, I one-upped them. I said, "How about a free scan?" Only one sentence to say that. Yeah. So I'm offering a free penetration scan. Just
Yeah.
as an easy one up cheaply.
It's funny you mentioned your competitor and how you were going back and forth. Right now, we do have a lot of attorneys down here in the West Palm Beach area. And if anybody doesn't live here and you're thinking about moving here, hold on to your wallet when you get insurance
Oh
for your car.
yes,
My
yes.
goodness. And I can't help but think that's because of all the attorneys that are constantly advertising on radio, television, billboards, on side of buses, taxi stands, all over.
Well, it's got to also be because the average age is like my Rotary Club is like 70 down there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But all those old ones, they're back up north. So now that I just finished my second winter in Florida. So now I can say, yeah, the snowbirds are gone, so there's less traffic,
Yes,
which is true. There
yes.
really is. But uh, there's a big attorney that is on two of my stations, one here on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. And there's another attorney. He says he's worried about that attorney. Says, well, you sit there and worry about him, that he's eating your lunch and you don't do anything about it. Guess what? He's going to continue to eat your lunch. In fact, you're handing it to him if you don't want to fight back. And again, that other law firm, they're not ridiculously spending. But as you mentioned earlier, they're consistent and they never
Yes.
disappear. And it sounds like they're constantly on the air.
How long ago did you give me that spot? Was it 3 years now?
Oh, it might even be a little bit
Yeah.
more than that, Rich.
I never missed it. It's great.
You bring that spot up again. There was a gentleman that owned a insurance agency, and he's since passed away in Frederick. But he used to sponsor the fire alarm on WFMD.
I remember that. Yeah,
Okay. The fire alarm has
yeah.
sounded. This report is brought to you by. Anyway, a number of years after he sold it, I happened to run into him. We never met, but I knew who he was. And I'm like, I'm going to go introduce myself because I was, in radio and I introduced myself. He goes, yeah. He says, yeah. He says, I sold my business about 10 years ago. He says, Warren, I still have people today coming up and say they heard me on the radio. And that he was gone for more than 10 years. But, and I tell people and they think I'm just being a salesperson. We have eyelids and we don't have earlids. Okay. And even if you're not paying attention, the sound of the song or the news or the weather or the commercial is penetrating and it's going into your brain and rattling around. And something else I always say, I'll say, listen, what year did you graduate in high school? Well, what was the number one song that year? Oh, okay. Well, I bet you can sing it if you heard it. Did you ever read the lyric? No. And, because we maintain what we hear.
In all honesty, how much has XM radio hurt the AM FM side?
XM didn't really hurt terrestrial radio hardly at all. What has made a little bit more of an impact has been some of the streaming services, like Spotify and Pandora. They have cut in a little bit. In fact, I did a little bit of research before we sat down for our little chit chat here. Radio reaches more adults 18 plus than any other audio source. AM and FM radio reaches 83% of adults. Pandora is 12%, Spotify 21%, and SiriusXM is 18%. Now, I mentioned Spotify at 21%. You know what company has never turned a profit? Spotify. So, how long are they going to be around? Recently, there has been a really nice uptick in radio usage nationwide. It's consistent. It's always there. It's not, remember when we were kids, remember when the TV would sign off at midnight?
Yeah.
People still like to have a relationship with their on-air jock. Okay. You'd be surprised, even the smaller stations, when you go out to a remote broadcast. Oh my my God, you're so and so. Your local radio jock, regardless of what station they're on, they're a local celebrity. And to this day, I bring people into the station and I show them the studio and like, oh my God, this is really crazy. To me, it's just another day in the office.
What about target market? I mean, if because I'm B2B, business to business, I have a particular target market, and I want to. I'm going after the business owners, the CEOs, CFOs. So how would somebody focus in on a particular target market using radio?
Well, that's where a format would come very important. For a business standpoint, if you want to target as many businessmen or women as you can, I think a news talk format would be excellent, a great place to be. And again, making sure that you're able to buy enough frequency to make the needle move. Now, for example, some of the radio stations that I have down here in Florida, we do regional Mexican. We have here in West Palm Beach, believe it or not, we're the number one Hispanic station in the market. And that's even above the Spanish, like the Latin pop stations. We've got the number one morning show. And again, I know you can play games with the numbers and take this demo out and put that demo in. But, as far as the average quarter hour and the ratings and things like that, we have a great game going on here. So, specifically targeting, it's more of a bigger shot as opposed to a specific target. I used to tell people if you want to sell cemetery plots, put an ad in the newspaper. Why is that? Because newspaper, again, we're talking about advantages of different media. Newspaper doesn't, not anymore because it's past life support. I think it's on, but back in the day, nothing did better. Newspaper couldn't do anything better than price and product. Picture of the car, price of the car. Picture of the furniture, price of the furniture. And the same thing there. I mean, it's also, the advantage and disadvantage. And again, I'm going way back to newspaper. Was an older demographic. That's an advantage. Well, it's also a disadvantage. It's an older demographic. So, and I think sometimes people will craft their message, and that's really where you're going to be able to do a little bit better pinpointing as far as who you want to talk to, is by crafting the message to reach those intellectual people. Or if you're doing an ad for a nursing home, you won't want to reach the people that are going to go into it because they're kicking and screaming. Trust me. You want to reach the kids. So that's where you would want to target. So you're going to target more with your message than you are with specifically with the radio station. But I mean, for you, I would probably start off with any news talk radio format that I could find.
And okay, so give me some inside baseball. What should we know as advertisers that a radio station would not want us to know about? What's the big secret?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a secret, but one thing about radio and television and cable and anything you can find, with one exception, digital, because there's a very much of a hard cost with digital. You can negotiate your price. And I've always told my salespeople, you go in high. Well, that's too high. Well, you can come down. You can't go back up. You don't want to leave money on the table. So something that we don't want you to know is anytime somebody comes in with a proposal, there's wiggle room. Trust me. Okay. It's built in there. We come in at A, you want C, we're going to wind up settling on B. So that's one thing too. And also too, I think I mentioned to you earlier when we were talking, you can have 10 people in a room that all advertise on WXCY, and they all buy the same schedule and they're all paying a different price.
Go ahead and tell that story.
Yeah. I mean, there was one time I had two clients. One was a car dealer. One was a mortgage banker. And we had a station event, and the two of them happen to meet each other. And they say, hey, so what are you paying for a morning drive spot? Well, I'm paying X. Son of a gun, I'm paying Y. Or did I catch hell the next day? So, and honestly, that did, it kind of did screw the pooch per se on that relationship. Because I don't know if it was the timing of it or not, but just after that, the C paper mortgage business all but dried up, because that's what he was doing.
Interesting. So, what is the best way to track results from radio advertising?
The one thing you don't want to do is say mention this ad. Okay, because number one, people aren't going to do it. Number two, you give the perception to anybody that might be thinking this way that mention this. Gee, that guy doesn't believe what he's doing. Why is he saying mention this ad? But everybody wants accountable advertising, and I understand that, and I appreciate that. One thing that I would tell you to do is say, for WABC listeners, let me make a special offer. So you could be running on 3 or 4 different radio stations and make a different order, make a different offer on all 3 radio stations, and see which offer gets asked for. And again, people don't remember that much. They're not that intelligent, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. But with the speed of life today, and it's a heck of a lot faster than it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. People really don't have time to retain as much as we would like them to do, or we would like to do. I mean, if I don't write it down, it doesn't happen. So today's little meeting here, I had it written down multiple places, so I didn't want to miss this.
So are there still like 30-second spots and 60-second spots? And which one should somebody go for?
Well, I tell you, when 30-second spots first came out, I was dead set against them. Because the company that wanted to do the 30-second spots, big nationwide company, they did it because they just needed to raise more money. They didn't do it for any other reason. And I was dead set against it because my thought process was I need 30 seconds to tell people what I want them to do and 30 seconds to tell them where I want them to do it. But that was a tsunami that wasn't going to be stopped. So eventually I had to give into it. And I wound up, becoming a believer that 30-second spots are better because we don't have the attention span anymore. And 30-second spots are going to be quicker, more precise. And so that's what I do recommend now. So you can change what it is you want.
So is there anything else? Have I missed any questions or anything else you want to share with the viewers about advertising?
Advertising is a necessary evil. Just like life insurance, auto insurance, anything you don't want to use. But you have to look at it as an investment, and you can't just stick your toe in the water. I've told clients this, and I tell my salespeople when they're dealing with objections. Well, I don't sign anything for more than a month. Well, what about your lease? What about your phone? What about your cable? What about your insurance? So yes, you do sign things for more than a month. And advertising, it's no different than going on a diet. I can't go on a diet today and expect to have dropped 30 pounds by next Friday. It doesn't happen. Business is a marathon, not a sprint. So is advertising. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Like the old, I think it was New York Lottery, their slogan used to be, you got to be in it to win it. It's the same thing with advertising. If you're going to do it, you got to stick with it. You got to trust the people that are advising you, providing they've given you a reason to trust them. And I can't stretch that, emphasize that more. This is a business like any other business. You got to have that trust. So
I forgot an important question. I know if somebody's like a 30-second spot or a 60-second spot, Is it worth putting phone numbers in the ads anymore?
No, nobody remembers phone numbers.
Just website.
Unless you've got a phone number that's like 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Okay.
Yes.
That is easy to remember. But if it's 301-682-5459 or blah, blah, no, and no, I don't advise it. Push them to the website. If you don't have a website, you shouldn't be in business. Well, what if they don't have a website? Well, then close your doors. Come on.
Warren, I appreciate your time, buddy, man. I appreciate it. I really do.
Well, hey, this was fun. People ask me if I'm on the, I say, well, I'm in the radio business. They say, are you on air? And I says, hell no. I said, you kidding me? I said, I'd have so many FCC fines and I'd have the license pulled. Because all I got to do is get ticked off by somebody and the jersey comes out. Yeah, it can be pretty ugly.
The best part about you doing my commercials for me is I have them on my, I guess, music on hold or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And if I put somebody on hold and they come back and say, who is that guy?
And you just brought up a whole nother thing that I tell clients. I said, look, put this commercial, put it on your old music. I know I told you that, and you did it.
That's great.
When I'm in an environment like a car dealership or a furniture store where you've got a sales staff that's looking there to help and advise people when they come in, let them know what you're doing. Play the commercial for them. Make them feel as if they're a part of your marketing efforts because they are. Let them know what you're doing.
Well, thank you for watching. I hope it's educational for you. Next month, we have a cyber insurance agent coming on, giving us the caveats about improperly filling out the insurance forms and if you really need cyber insurance for your business or not. Thank you.
Produced by Podcast Architects.